Hey everybody, I'm Griffin, that's Theta, and we're here doing another Stone Face reaction. We're reacting to Tokyo 24th Ward. What happened last time? I think they killed their friend, didn't they?
No, they didn't.
Or, I guess rather, Green and all of his buddies in the police decided to shoot the, Red's friend, from Do-Red, who was, trying to blow up a boat full of people.
Pretty sure that's also not accurate.
Was that the episode before that, actually? Am I
No,
am I
no,
wrong?
you're still describing elements of this episode, the last episode, but
Okay.
your Green didn't decide to shoot Red's friend. That's not a course of action that occurred.
No, he totally died at the end.
Oh yeah, that guy died. He got shot as well. But the elements, you understand the pieces of the story you're
He
melding
was
together.
literally like standing 2 inches away from the guy who shot him.
Yeah. You recall he also went like, no! Everything like that. He didn't shoot that guy! Or, I'm making the call, take the shot. He didn't do any of that shit. He reacted
My
negatively.
impression is that he wanted to in the first place, so he went ahead and did it.
God, woe betides anybody that stands next to Griffin committing a crime. Because instantly, they are 100% guilty.
Look, I need my co-conspirators, alright? I gotta operate with other people. Anyway, so that was kind of like the main thing happening there, but like, it came to context that, hypnosis and magic are totally in play.
Well, I guess hypnosis is magic, isn't it?
Just a little bit. But more particularly, it seems that, the character who died is actually one who created a program which can do some hypnotic music to make people feel better, or, as he discovers later and feels guilty about, terribly worse and commits suicide, which is terrible. But it seems that he's developed this thing that is similar and in parallel to what the heroes are using, and things are getting weird.
Well, it's not in parallel because we see flashbacks, so he did it in the past.
Right. My assumption is that it's not the same program and not by the same person, but it is the same idea, and they have both discovered it.
Well, it seems
One of those cases of, multiple people.
If it's that sort of thing, then it seems more like we have a drug cartel or whatever that's doing because they call it D, doing the D version of it, and then the government has gotten a hold of it as well, and they're doing the version that's creating them as heroes. I only say government because it seems like Hazard Cast is the one that's putting it out there, and
Right.
Hazard Cast is run by the government of the ward, which I don't know what you would actually call, because they're not actually
interim government, I guess. I don't know.
Maybe, yeah, because they're not technically Japanese at the moment, because it's an American-made artificial island that's being controlled until a certain date, as I understand it, which is
You got geopolitics all over my Super Sentai.
Well, it was in episode 1 that it's just as a certain date that's coming forwards, which the island will be re-released back into Japan. It's a Hong Kong situation.
Yeah, which is very awkward, but also kind of interesting. So we did at least wrap up the plot last time. What did they leave off on, though? Like, what was the next step that's going to happen now? Or was it just kind of broad and open-ended?
We have a lot of broad and open-ended plot lines. I mean, this whole new hypnotism thing is just a broad, open-ended plot line to go along with the who is the dead ghost in the Hazard Cast machine? Why does Green's assistant work at Hazard Cast, but it's never replied? Why is Green's assistant always putting trackers on him, like multiples at a time, that he has to ditch? Where's Blue's mother at?
What is the principle of double whatever from last time?
Yes, that thing that you said.
There it is.
Blue's mother is only ever seen once or twice, and now missing.
Oh, wait, she's actually missing?
No, she's not missing. We'd only see her once every 2 or 3 episodes.
But no, it's the doctrine of double effort, which we discovered last time.
Where's Red's parents?
There we go.
Who's Frankenstein, and why is he so strong?
Ah, and who created the monster in the first place? Who created Frankenstein's monster?
No, I'm not. I'm not. The guy who has half of his face is like a boil mark.
Oh, okay.
He's giant, massive, has like white hair. He looks like
How did I miss that guy?
I don't know.
He's just not in my brain at all.
I've described him 3 or 4 times to you now. He's been in 3 episodes now.
he just bounces off my brain, I guess.
We're on
Maybe
episode 6, which means he's been in at least half of the episodes.
That's very true.
Last episode, he threw somebody across an entire room.
I can only imagine that, like, somehow that character is just, like, less interesting than everyone else around him.
Well, your favorite character is Red, right?
Yes.
He's part of Red's crew, and every time Red's around, typically with his crew, he's around too.
Oh, is he the guy who, like, punched a pole last time or something out of anger?
Don't remember.
Maybe. Well, maybe we'll see more of him. Maybe I'll actually get a name and I'll remember who he is.
I don't know his name. That's why I call him Frankenstein.
But yeah, I guess we just have no idea what's going to happen. Let's just see what happens.
No, this is probably going to be a down episode. We will learn about people or their interconnections with one another. That's the structure of the show so far is event, downtime, event, downtime, event, downtime.
Yeah, so let's go chill and do some downtime.
これを見ているみんな、お願いだ。どうか、ドレッドの仲間を応援してやってくれ。
Setting up a suicide video?
すまない。ラン。動くな！動くなと言ってるだろ！シシドさん、俺が話します。バレてたのかよ。共犯者でないことは分かっている。俺を泳がせたのか。先に騙したのはお前だ。よくも来ないよ。大丈夫、コウキ君。はい。
Dang, just taken straight out. Wait, what?
コウキ君。カオレ、逃がすな。外だ、オード。はい。
That's my favorite
They came
character.
prepared.
仲間か。工藤ナイト、通称クナイ。シャンティタウン生まれ、パイロンアパート在住。
I appreciate the name of the place is literally Shantytown. It's not like what we nicknamed it. Place of residence, Shantytown.
It is what it is.
お手柄だったね。テロを未然に防いだんだ。もうちょっと笑顔になれば？そうも言っていられません。まだ動機も明らかになっていませんし。逃げた参考人、赤木蘭君だって？犯人と関係あったのかな？わざとらしい。状況証拠から共犯の可能性は低いと推察しています。じゃあ、なんで彼は逃げたのかな？ドレッド。
It doesn't bode well for them working together.
Yeah, like he's dealing with other people who can like obviously like make connections here.
No, I mean the Red's like, you know, I'm not an accomplice. I mean, their whole working together in an emergency situation to prevent people from dying. You know, like they caused people to die during the tornado.
Mm-hmm.
俺は正しい選択をしたはず。そして仕組みはわからんが、ビジョンは非常にハザードキャストに似ている。いっそ直接問いただしてみるか。
アスミから電話？
はい、5月頃からです。俺の周囲で事件が起こる直前、アスミから電話がかかってきました。父さんは何かご存知ではないのですか？ハザードキャストと何か関係が。
お前は将来、私の後を継いでこの24区を率いねばならん身だ。現在を見つめろ。過去にとらわれるな。未来へ踏み出せ。できるな。
Dodge the question a little bit.
そうそう。昨晩の報告は聞いたぞ。テロを防ぐのに活躍したそうだな。よくやった。
はい。はい、区長室。なんでランもコウキも全然電話出ねえんだよ。
何、喧嘩でもしたの？
おう、マリ。いや、そういうわけじゃ。どう
したの？大丈夫？
いや、ただの筋肉痛だから。
また筋トレ？そうだね。一昨日のテロ未遂事件、ドレッドが関わってるって。
Did he actually get hurt in the fight last time? I don't think he got shot.
We didn't see how he escaped.
俺が聞きたいくらいだよ。
He was getting shot at constantly and jumping all around, and then he just apparently made his way out.
お母さん、慌てて何？テレビ。
繰り返します。一昨日の爆破テロ未遂事件の犯人から声明が届きました。本日正午、犯人が事前投稿した動画が公開される模様で、この後生中継でお送りします。
Why are you broadcasting it live?
Slow news day.
I guess so.
この動画は予約投稿されている。配信されてるってことは、俺は外形に捕まったか。もうこの世にいないかだろう。俺の名前は工藤ナイト。みんなからはクナイって呼ばれてる。近頃シャンティタウンで流行っているドラッグ D。あれを作ったのは俺だ。正確には元となるアプリをだ。
At least he accepts it.
シーフォンには強力なバイオメトリクスセンサーが載っている。その性能は個人が持つようなものじゃない。俺はそれを利用して精神にプラスに作用するアプリを開発した。それが音楽アプリディーバだ。でも権利を買われて改造されて人間の脳に働きかけ人の行動をおかしくするアプリになった。それがドラッグ D の正体だ。
Alright. Well, it's good at least that he's, like, saying all this, so at least all the viewers are very well aware of, like, the context if they didn't get it last
He
time.
just said he targeted the boat. He said I targeted the boat.
テロが成功か失敗かはわからないが、俺は自分が間違ったことをしたとは思っていない。どうせすぐに情報が出回るだろうから、一つだけ告白させてほしい。俺はドレッドに所属していた。だからおそらく外形はドレッドへの取り締まりを強めるだろう。だが今回の事件は俺が一人で起こしたことだ。ドレッドは関係ない。
Nice still frames there.
I guess we're just touching base with everybody we know.
Yeah.
これを見ているみんな、お願いだ。どうかドレッドの仲間を応援してやってくれ。お前はアーティストなんだよ。な。
受け取ったぜクナイ。みんな覚悟はいいな。
ああ、はい。
暴力以外は何でもやるぜ。区長の奴らと戦争だ。マジで今の犯人なの？
自分で言ってるんだからそうなんじゃないの？
I do have to say, though, it's still so irresponsible that they just played a random video.
I'm just confused by the do-red response, because it's like, time to go to war! It's like, that just makes you the bad guys still, though. Also, the ward office didn't have anything to do with it. I mean, they killed a guy who was a terrorist.
Well, he laid out, like, the plans for redevelopment and stuff, too.
Zarek is not the villain! What the fuck are you talking about? Zarek didn't buy the rights and make the program a drug. And redevelopment is literally the government's responsibility. What the hell is he talking about?
Ooh, now we're getting some interesting stuff.
Okay, but you understand, if they make Zarek now a villain through this reveal, it has nothing to do with anything that's been said before.
ハザードキャストの中枢ということですか？
所在地まで知るのは24区でもごくわずかしかいないトップシークレットだ。
お待ちしておりました。
つづら川。
ここはハザードキャストの根幹をなす場所。
You think she might have been the glowing blue woman?
ご存知のように24区中に存在するセンサー、今は主に監視カメラですが、そこから集積された膨大なデータを解析し、人々の安全を守るハザードキャストとして。
Oh, right, it's the phone information that made everyone freak out. Yeah.
この次世代挙手的凝集体演算装置を使用した。
There are devices in your phone that track you and can manipulate your brain. By the way, you've all been using it and no one told you. That's why. There you go.
様は宝小学校に赴任する以前はスマートシティの研究を行っていました。
Smart cities.
Again, he developed the thing, though. The guy who was reporting about it.
今日の24区の安全を支えているのです。
そしてその治安維持は
So we found the blue-haired girl.
日本からの情報を加えることで新たな時代に突入する。後期、お前に家内システムの根幹である特殊なブレインを見せてやる。
特殊なブレイン。
All capital letters.
He killed an orphan child and put his heart in the machine.
It's gonna be his sister's corpse.
Your main character's always been a bad kid. I mean, it's kind of hard to see Green in a bad light when he's like literally always just being the goody two-shoes kid.
Just setting up for a betrayal.
Well, I just mean he's always doing the right thing. And your main character has literally always been a little shit.
電話出ろよ。すまない。折り返すのを忘れていた。らしくねえな。らしいか。懐かしいものを。学校取り壊しだって。明日は俺も外形の一員として立ち会うことになっている。寂しいな。今まで残っていたのが奇跡みたいなものだ。いずれ壊さなきゃならない。変わっちまうのかな。学校も24区も俺らも。当たり前だ。ランはドレッドのリーダー。後期は外形の人間で、俺はパン屋の息子で。
Blue realizing he doesn't have a job.
Well, I mean, he's a hero.
何が気に食わなくて何を信じてるか。
A jobless hero.
俺はランの友人を見捨てて殺した。どんな顔であいつと会える。一緒に弓張りへ行って。
I mean, we just had an argument that a bandit is a career. You're saying a hero is not a career.
Green is totally right. It's like, what is he gonna do? Like, sit down and go like, oh, sorry, my bad, I killed your friend.
こんな俺たちを望んでねえだろ。そういったアスミはもういない。俺たちはもう変わってしまっている。子供の頃とは違うんだ。
母さん、俺泥棒を捕まえましたよ。ええ、偉いわね。今ラン君に話を聞いてくるから二人とも待っててね。
ラン、教えてくれるかな。
盗んだくせに反省しないなんて。リンゴたくさん欲しかったのかな。一人で食べるには多すぎる。
俺が教えてやるよ。3年1組出席番号1番青井俊さんじゃ。
He even has a Super Sentai mask.
お前
Of course he does.
友達なのか。
いや別に。でもシャンティタウンの人たまにうちにパンの耳もら
I
いに
feel
来るんだ。
like this anime
だから多分
is the antithesis of,
おーいみんなで一緒に食おうぜ。
Sorry, I forgot what the story of Jean Valjean was.
You know, I still gotta see that movie. Or musical. Musical movie.
Les Miserables, sorry.
Yeah.
Les Miserables is about a story about a man who stole a loaf of bread so his sister's child could eat.
二人ともここにいたのね。
Local thief starts revolution.
母さん。
24th Ward is about
俺間違った。
stealing a bunch of apples to feed a bunch of hungry kids or something, and it's like, one of these good, one of these bad.
間違ってはいない。あなたは正しいことをしたわ。でも世界に完
I guess
璧は
both are
ない。
anti-capitalist messages, though.
誰かを助けたいと正しいことをしようとすると、今のルールとぶつかってしまう人もいる。今日のラン君みたいにね。そんな時、あえてルールから外に踏み出す人もいる。
So I guess the story at the end of the day is that the apple sale was wrong.
でもそれは本当に正しいことなんですか。もし間違ってたら。
よく聞いて。
大切なのは何が正しいのかをみんなで考え続けることなのよ。
Again, though, the Apple salesman did nothing wrong, so why does he have to pay?
家に帰りなさい。
Now, I understand people are hungry, right? That seems like the government's responsibility, not an individual merchant's. So why does he have to pay for a thief?
Well, I mean, like, the very basis of the moral argument is that an individual's life in desperate hunger is more important than the immediate profit of a merchant or something.
Except for that merchant might be paying for things that need money, like, I don't know, a medical bill, or his own welfare.
I think the more important thing is that that scene basically brought up, like, a deeper context which is going on, which is that, morality is a discussion had between people and isn't just a solved problem where you're always doing the right thing.
しかし、この制度は途上にあります。これを発展させることは現在を生きる我々の命題であります。よって、私は今ここにハザードキャストのさらに先にある犯罪・災害総合予防のため
And now it's the position of Hazard Cast that stealing bread to live is a crime and you should die.
Half of that is true, though, Griff. Stealing is a crime.
第一段階を年末までの試験運用、そして区民投票を行い、このシステムの成否を判断することにしました。今日この時よりアップデートが始まります。皆さん、存分に試していただき、12月の投票を迎えてください。
There we go. He's cleaning up the fallout that just happened to his company.
Well, I mean, it follows through on the thing you just said a minute ago, that morality is a discussion. That he literally said we will have a discussion about whether this system is right for us or not after the rollout. It's not like I'm forcing that. Also, I'm pretty sure it was Kane, right?
I can't remember.
Well, I just saw they said Kane, and I thought they said Kane before.
Will you contribute? Please sign the release form.
情報はすべて暗号かどこまで信じられたもんだか
アップデートなんて絶対しない。区内が危ないって言ってたもん。
安全のためでしょ。
協力しようかしら。多少のプライバシーの提供も安全には変えられないわよね。
何か起きてからじゃ遅いし。
確かに。シュウちゃんはどうするの？みんなの安全も守れるって。
わかってるよ。でもなんか気に食わね。
Something
Here we go, our man in the middle having doubts.
I really hate the portrayal of shit like this in this versus how it actually goes in real life.
Right, it's highly simplified for the sake of a narrative. Right?
No, I get. I'm more so that in real life, it's assholes that say no. It's always. It's like you can't take away my freedoms. I'm not wearing a fucking mask. It's those are the people in real life that say no.
Right, this is very much assuming everyone's acting in good faith and trying to make their best individual decision, not intentionally trying to be terrible. Forbidden technology.
後期、かつて我々が味わった愛する者を奪われるという地獄の苦しみ。この世にそんなもの必要ないとは思わんか。カナエやアスミのような悲劇はなくさなくてはならん。我々には完璧な世界が必要なのだ。そのための犠牲は誰かが払わなくてはならない。
You were right. You were right all along.
Why did she lose her leg?
It was underneath a big rock.
実の娘をこんな機械につないで。アスミは生きているんですか？
死んでいる。だから私も決断できた。ここにあるのはパーツとしての脳であり、バランスを取るための肉体だ。 我々の安全はカナエの理論とアスミの犠牲を土台にして成り立っているのだ。我々には世界に貢献するため清濁合わせ飲む覚悟が必要だ。 決断の時だ。後期。他ならぬお前の口から証言するのだ。ドレッドのリーダー、レッドの正体は誰だ？
Well, we know what his decision was. And he's dead.
Yeah, it looked like there was a wide breadth of land before the water.
Kanae様、罪深き私をお許しください。
いかなる創造活動も初めは破壊活動だ。
I did that with one can of black paint.
Yes, one sweeping gesture.
And he held it there in one spot, too, so clearly it all dripped down to make that.
That's why he's the perfect artist. By the way, he's definitely the person who was seen last episode being, like, the great artist, because that's also just his symbol, straight up. So he's the villain. Why? How? I
I think it's more like a group of people are the villain, not him.
Yeah, very possibly.
Clearly,
people he's inspired, maybe.
Well, clearly Green's assistant is also part of whatever the villain organization is.
Mm-hmm. Still, for an episode about just, like, talking and setting things up, what a wild ride, am I right?
I mean, I feel like we're still on opposite ends here, Griff. Like, you're very much representing one tonal shift, and I'm representing the other. I'm very much still on the board with Sarg. Sarg is the right call.
Oh, I mean, I'm not even talking about the discussion right now. I'm just talking about, like, the drama of it all was, like, constantly back and forth, and then it just pops up like, yes, Theta, you were right all along. It was the sister. She's in the jar. She is the machine.
Yeah,
you were right all along. You're completely vindicated.
I had no doubt about that. I mean, like, it's very much a call out there, like your hypnotism thing. Your hypnotism thing seemed like a shot in the dark to me, but I've seen enough Ghost in the Shell style anime to know when they're using a human brain to do something.
But yeah, still, that was pretty great. So you want to do the moral discussion part of it? So
Sure.
You start off with, like, you're supporting Sarge and, like, what they're saying and stuff, right?
Well, I mean, I've said it 100 times now. Sarge is basically it's Minority Report. It's calling out potential crimes based on collected information, and then putting people in an area to be able to handle said crimes before they happen, but not actually before they happen, and not even crimes. Accidents get brought up, and natural disasters get brought up. It's like your weather service, your traffic report, and your police all wrapped in one. And they're not like, sir, can you come with us? It's not like, hooded cops out there. Not the SS, not your whatever the Russian equivalent was. I'm trying to remember and just failing to bring out. They're in place in case something happens, and when it does happen, they're there. And the cost of said thing is a little bit of privacy. And Shantytown is the example of that, because they destroyed all their cameras, right? And the assertion being made here in this episode is that the phones are also doing it. But we also just saw everybody in Shantytown still has their phones, because they're all addicted to that weird D drug thing, and they're not being monitored.
Yeah, to put this in context, I think this episode revealed that while the devices were prepared and set up to do so, they weren't actively doing that information collection yet necessarily, or if they were doing it, they were doing it below the board, basically.
They weren't doing it.
And yeah, if they weren't doing it, people still finding out about it caused them to worry because, wait a second, what if they were doing something wrong with it? Which forced the company's hand to come out and publicly say, we're rolling this out right now, go ahead and choose to update or not, that's your choice.
But that's the thing, is that they're not doing it because they don't have any monitoring ability in Shantytown, because they destroyed the cameras, and if they were monitoring by the phones, they wouldn't have the whole diatribe before 2 or 3 episodes back about having to send in cops to knock people's heads together because they would have already had SARG operating there.
Right. The evidence so far is that though the phones had the capacity, they weren't actively doing it yet. Which, fair. Maybe they had to make a software patch. But the morality of the episode, I think, like I briefly said, they're setting up the difference between stealing for fun or profit versus stealing to live here, which is what Red represents. He's literally stealing bread and apples to go and feed other people who need to live, and Green is on the side of no, that's against the law. You can't do that. And really, what it comes down here to is that law isn't the center of morality. The law isn't morality, and it's not necessarily moral to follow laws.
But laws are what we all have agreed to as a social contract.
But you see, there are more complicated things to go on there, and I could have an entire hour episode talking about that, but I'm going to go ahead and just put a pin in it for later. In the show.
Okay, argument here is you have what? Let's say we have 3 respective parties in this scenario, right? You have the apple salesman who is selling apples. You have the thief, Red, who knows party C, which is, say, starving people. We don't have a name for them or anything. So, thief steals from party A to feed party C. Where's party A? Where's party A's moral responsibility in this?
You mean the person who has the food in the first place and it's not distributed, right?
The person who's being stolen from.
Right. In this case, they generally do not have a moral position in this argument normally. Though I would argue that from a certain perspective, the hoarding of food and the refusal to take care of others around you is itself an immoral action. But in the normal context of the stealing from the guy who makes bread thing, usually they're a neutral actor that is just assumed to exist.
Right, it's not hoarding of food, and it's a market designed to sell food.
Right. It all depends on the specific situation here, but more particularly, the system built around all the 3 subjects, the person who's dying of hunger, the thief, and the person who's selling food, is that there's a structure around them that has forced this scenario upon them. I.e., that the merchant has to keep their stuff to themselves and then sell it to make a profit, and now the people who can't buy it are now starving. And that would be immoral, but that's usually not the target of the I need to steal bread to live thing. Which is usually a very personal one. It's it is okay for me to continue living. Me being alive is important.
Sure. Which is why I kept bringing it up as a government issue, not a I don't even know where I'm going with a not a issue. It's that is a government is designed for the people to support people, right? So it's a government failing.
That's the theory, right?
It's a government failing if you have people starving on the streets. I don't know at what point it becomes party A, the merchant's responsibility to give up their own well-being to save other people.
So I think the best place to take this is that generally I've been quiet on the anarchist side of this argument because I feel the show is very leaning towards it. It's leaning towards taking care of your community, the people around you, and of course being slightly anti-authoritarian here and putting Sarge as a question or not empirically good. At the very least, it's very genuinely dealing with these arguments. I don't know what its final decision at the end of all this is going to be, or if it's even going to decide it, which is why I kind of been keeping quiet. It's I wanted to kind of save it. But it's building up to these things because all these things contribute to those arguments. And I think it could very well be a good case for anarchy anarchism to say, hey, look at how these things operate. Wouldn't it be easier if things were just organized this way instead?
I don't think it's been putting Sarge in the question mark territory. I think it's actually been presenting Sarge as the positive up until maybe, I guess maybe this episode is the shifting point, because it looks like, because I think this might just be personal viewpoints, right? I think they've been presenting Sarge very mechanically, like this is how it works, this is how it operates, this is how a lawful person would operate viewing this, and then they've been showing off the anarchy side as just a bunch of kids. Just a bunch of kids doing anarchy shit, and then they started
Which is the usual anti-anarchism
Well, then they
argument.
started giving us, they started giving us the kunai angle. And kunai is, okay, well, this stuff got done because the corporate interests did this, and then they bought my stuff out, they started doing this evil shit, and now the only way I can see out of this is taking out the corporate interests. And it starts showing the terrorist angle as more of an acceptable,
as possibly justified in all this
as
scenario.
possibly justified, and then we start leaning harder into the do-red anarchist viewpoint, and that's when they start showing us evil side to Sarg, which isn't even the evil side to Sarg. Well, putting your daughter into a vat is kind of evil. But
it is incredibly evil. Oh, man.
Well, I mean, she is dead, and legally, when you're dead, you become property of the state. So it's not technically, it's not evil.
He's not technically illegal, but it is incredibly strange and definitely upsetting to Green here.
And at the same time, it is his daughter. So I guess as both the legal governor of the ward, plus also father to the dead girl, if there are
do whatever he wants.
I'm saying any legal rights fall back to the living people,
right?
But
I guess
whatever.
But yeah, to my point, the show is trying to be very fair about it. Like you said, they're being very mechanical about what Sarge is doing and kind of leaving the open interpretation about it. It is demonstrating where it is positive, and it's demonstrating its flaws or possible pitfalls. Like, because it's very obvious, like this episode alone, people literally stated, well, I'll give up some freedom for my security. Like, just as plain text, like, just straight there. Right?
Well, I said, it's very much been a seesaw dependent on your viewpoints. Like, for me, Sarg is up here, anarchism is down here for me, and then for you, it's probably been like this, but for me, it's been like this, where Sarg is on the top, and it clearly makes a lot of sense. And then, as the episodes go, it's like, it's leaning back, and for me, it goes back to a point where, maybe both of them do have a point, and then all of a sudden, I put my daughter into a chamber, and
it is. Gosh, yes. All of a sudden, I'll put my daughter in the chamber. If there's ever, like, a villain move, like, it's right there. It's right up there with, like, person mysteriously deciding that they want to bomb people now. Which is exactly what happened with Kunai, honestly. That's the usual assassination attempt for the anarchism argument.
I mean, I can get behind putting your daughter in a chamber. It's a very much RoboCop move, right? This person died, we've made a sacrifice, and now the law has been restored. I'm just saying that past that, though, you can see the dad's motivations are there. Apparently, the wife dies at some point because they both.
No one here is acting irrationally, which I think we also talked about. Everyone's acting rationally and in good faith and trying to acquire evidence. Nobody's gut feeling it here necessarily. Well, no, they are kind of gut feeling some of their decisions.
They're also gut feeling because remember the wife. We know the mother dies at some point because they keep referring to her in the past tense, and the daughter dies. And in this episode alone, they've also said, nobody should have to suffer what we suffered, right? Nobody else should have to deal with this, so we're going to make a world in which this never has to happen again. They are kind of gut feeling it, but at the same time, they've made a system where it's not gut feeling anymore.
Right, but like you said, nobody is there going, ain't nobody gonna take away my gun or something, and then presses no. That we haven't seen the very foolish, poorly formed, bad faith arguments. They don't participate in this discussion because rightfully they probably should.
Yeah, the ones that very much exist in real life. We didn't see the real life people represented here.
Right. Everyone here is at least somewhat informed of what's going on, even when they're the least informed person in the show.
You know what I think has something to do with that small side of it? Everyone is using their phones for this thing, right?
Uh-huh.
And to use your phone, you have to say, I accept or I decline, which means you couldn't hop on Twitter to have an argument about whether I should click accept or decline, because to do that, you have to accept or decline on your phone, which is more an argument...
Just like my real phone.
Well, which is what I'm saying is argument towards individual intelligence over group intelligence. You have your opinions, and your opinion is set and based on your whole life experience and everything. And when you have to make an opinion-based choice, when you operate alone, you might actually make a smarter choice rather than, I'm going to listen to what 500 other people had to say about this and be swayed instantly.
Though, I should go ahead and point out, there are some scientific studies of just straight up, yes, if you have more people working on a problem, they come to a solution faster and better. And those are fun to read. I should actually go ahead and pick those up some point.
God, I wish I hadn't watched Eden of the East, because I would love to watch Eden of the East with you. It's very much based on that, and in fact, it involves phones a lot too. It's 100
phones, big thing.
Well, yeah, it's like if I get 1,000 people to work on a problem and sift through all the results, I can find the best problem faster than having all working on together. It's very much in your line. And unfortunately, I've watched it.
You want to know something funny on the computer inside of that? There's actually an algorithm called Quantum Sort, and the idea is that you just generate all possible sorts, and then by a quantum mechanic, you just collapse it to the solution. That's it. You just randomly decide that you just get every random shuffle and go, wait, here's the solution. I have it.
Yeah, it's a brute forcing method. Computers can brute force that shit today. It just takes.
Gosh, that's actually a great way to describe it. Quantum brute forcing. It's so stupid.
Well,
yet
I mean, it's also
technically could work.
It's also the concept of a sub-universe, that a quantum computer would create a sub-universe to solve a problem, and that the collapsing of that universe would also generate all the information necessary to come up with the answer.
Yeah. But before we get too far into physics meeting metaphysics here, any last thoughts?
Still on the side of Sarg. I still think Sarg is in the right. Well, the thing is okay.
Sarg put my daughter in a jar. I'm right.
Again, for good reasons. Also, she's already dead. So, I mean, and he is the legal guardian of the body. So, literally, he's doing nothing wrong. Sarg did nothing wrong. No, what I'm getting at here is we're getting muddled on both sides, right? So, in this episode, in the previous episode, we saw how Do-Red's organization accidentally or intentionally, whatever, gave birth to a terrorist. And at the end of this episode, we saw how Sarg is unintentionally or intentionally giving birth to a terrorist. Because Sarg is now responsible for, I can't remember the Sentai villain guy's name anymore.
It started with a C.
Well, it's
been a minute.
He's the face of an organization that we now see that Green's assistant and that guy with the spray can represent. So we've seen how anarchist views give rise to terrorism, and now we're seeing also how extreme right-wing views give birth to terrorism as well.
I will go ahead and say, in favor of Kunai, he had to be literally hypnotized to go do it.
But he didn't, though, because, he was building up to it before all the hypnotism shit.
He had to be literally hypnotized to do it. The author made him do it.
Oh, yeah, the author also wrote everything.
Yes, this is very true.
The author made him do it. Yeah?
Never forget in these discussions about videos, movies, and other media, the author wrote everything. They're not inherently true just because they wrote them.
At the same time, last episode, you were also praising the author for doing this research. So...
That is true. I appreciate this author. I think that they are doing smart things.
I also want to put that out here. That's an argument I never want to hear again. The author made him do it. Because it's like, yeah, but without the author, the character wouldn't exist, or neither would any of the scenarios they've been in. So
we'll pull in Kantian arguments with the author as God. Okay, all morality is derived from what the author wrote down on paper.
I mean, ultimately, that is where all the morality in the show's universe can ultimately fall upon, is what is the author's stance on anything. Although, I will point out at the same time, just last thoughts now that we're on them.
Okay.
Pathfinder game here on this channel. Sometimes.
Yeah.
We've been doing a Babylon 5 minute where one of our guys is watching Babylon 5 and he give 5 minutes to talk about every episode. And last session he came to with the episode where all of Earth's religions come to the station and they have like a summit and everything. And I was bringing up that J. Michael Straczynski, the guy who writes Babylon 5, is an avowed atheist. But all the religions of Earth come to the episode and they have this summit and everything. And they all look great because the author is always bringing out stuff he stands against to show them the opposite point of view. But he doesn't just make things look bad because he doesn't like them. So the religions and everything that he doesn't like and doesn't agree with and everything still get their own point of views and their own respective things. So the author doesn't
acting
have
in good faith here.
Yeah, the author doesn't have to, just because he stands against a thing, show it in a monstrous way.
Right, and it's always so easy when writing or doing anything to create your straw man, to define someone else's position and do it in a terrible way so that you can tear it down and make your own position look better. And so it's very good to see that kind of good writing actually exist.
And it does seem fairly obvious that Blue is our everyman in this scenario because we've been given an extreme on one side, we've been given an extreme on the other side, and Blue is our middle, I don't know what to do.
Yeah, Blue's in the middle. Blue is also the audience a little bit in this scenario. He wants to see everything go well. He wants to see everyone come back together. He wants everyone to be happy, but he doesn't know the solution yet. And so, that's why the series continues. I wonder how the other two will react when they find out that their favorite friend is actually a corpse in a bottle right now, controlling the computer that runs their life. Green didn't react well. No one else will.
Well, it's Green's
It's gonna
sister.
be great.
Well, it's Green's sister. It's not his favorite friend. It's his sister.
I'm going to still say that sister and favorite friend.
Also, I mean, it's not that he didn't react well. He sold out his other friend and witnessed the destruction of the school she died in because he, I guess, believes that it's still the right thing.
They did actually cut away from that. While my assumption and Red's assumption is that, yeah, he totally is going to sell it off. I think he probably didn't in the text of the story, and the investigator figured it out. Well, because, like we were mocking earlier, it's like, yeah, there's other intelligent people here who can pick up on this stuff. He's not stupid.
Well, I mean, my point was more that they have a future predictive machine, and they can't figure out where 4 kids are hanging out.
Yeah, that too. That's an incredibly good point. How could they not eventually know?
He says something while we're on him, looking at the school as it's being destroyed, and he says something to the effect of, I hope I made the right choice, or something like that. So that's what makes me think he sold the Red out.
Oh,
also, there's a
should be clarified next episode.
There's a scene we saw in the trailer that I've been bringing up. I brought up a lot in like the first 3 episodes, I haven't mentioned again, where you see Red's hacking something, and one of the guys lands in front of him like he's about to attack him. And it's like...
Oh, we're about to have a superhero battle.
I can't remember who it was. I haven't watched the trailer in forever. But I just remember one of them lands in front of Red while he's hacking on a computer. And it looks like they're, not friends. So...
Yeah, so, well, hey, that could be exciting. So... I think that basically covers everything, don't you think?
Probably not. I'll probably think of something after we clip this recording off, but...
Totally.
Fuck it.
Fuck it, we'll do it live. Alright, so I've been Griffin, that's been Theta, he's somewhere over here, and we'll catch you next time. This has been Stoneface Reactions. See ya. Hey everybody, thanks for watching another Stoneface Reactions. If you have an idea of another video we could go ahead and watch, go ahead and put it in the comments down below, and we'll add it to the wheel. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and let us know what you thought about this video, what parts you liked. And until then, we'll see you next time. Is this too goofy?